In this lecture we are going to connect all the render layers in the compositor and add some compositing effects to them. On the left you can see the finished result of two still renders. In the node editor we can select this icon on the button to switch to the compositor. We can click this checkbox and you will discover that the compositor also works with nodes, just like with our shaders. Two nodes get automatically added, the compositor output and our first render layer node. We can copy the render layer node 2 times and place them below each other. And we can change the render layer of the second node to Nebula and the third to Iris. You can also collapse the nodes to save space with the downwards arrow icon. Now, in order to put the render layers together, we are gonna use a color mix node. And by dragging the color mix node over a wire, it becomes yellow, and then we can release the node and it connects automatically. After duplicating the color mix node, we can make the connections as shown in the video and change the setting for each of them to add. We can also add a viewer node, which enable us to view our render in the background of the compositor. Let's make a test render to see if our node setup works. You will see that each render layer renders separately and then after each gets combined again via the compositor node setup. You only see a part since I selected a small render border in my viewport. So now when we enable backdrop, we can see our render directly in our compositor. We can add other nodes and see the effects in the compositor background without re-rendering our scene. Let's add a glare node and a hue saturation node and connect them as I do. With the hue saturation value node connected to our iris render layer, we can increase the saturation to give a greater color contrast. You can see it update in near real time. The glare node we can connect to our nebula render layer and change the setting to fog glow. By lowering the threshold, we can increase the effect of the glare. Of course, one can also overdo it. I think I will leave it at 0.5. We can duplicate our glare node and add it to our first render layer. I am again adjusting the threshold to increase or decrease the glow effect. It seems that our glare node for our logo object does not work very well, so I guess I will disconnect it. Getting a good look is also a game of trial and error. By increasing this value, we can increase the overall brightness. So let's start a render of the whole scene by selecting the entire camera field as render border or disabling the render border with Ctrl-Alt-B. So there we have our final render. I think it looks pretty cool and intense. Also, it took only around 2 minutes to render, so you could easily render an animation with this. So let's render now a different frame, such as around 540. In the video editing, I left out most of the rendering part to save us both time. Looks cool, you can see the dormant nebula part. So that is about it for the compositor in this project. Of course, after saving the file, I urge you to experiment with different effect nodes in the compositor to check out different looks. In the next and last video for this project, we are going to set everything up to start the rendering process for the animation. Thanks for watching.